Hi everyone, this is Peyton Stilling back with another episode of The Power of Storytelling, and today we have Lauren Ford. Lauren graduated from Harvard with a degree in psychology. She has since gone on to work in business development for a tech startup here in Austin, Texas. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Peyton.
Yeah. So how I like to kick off these episodes is from the very beginning. So tell everyone like where you grew up, where you came from, what your childhood was like. Give us the whole spiel.
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from upstate New York. I have two younger brothers, always keeping me on my toes. And then obviously have been outrunning the snow ever since, seeking warmer weather. But yeah, overall, really great childhood. I'm super close with my family. My family has always been extremely supportive of me. So definitely wouldn't change it for the world. I was a very big sports active child as well. And yeah.
So wait, where in New York did you grow up? Upstate.
Corny.
Okay. And what kind of sports did you play?
I was a competitive gymnast for most of my life up until high school. And then I really pivoted and focused on lacrosse just because I remember telling my dad at one point, being like, I really want to play lacrosse in college. And not that I didn't love gymnastics anymore, obviously, but just not burning the candle at both ends. Had to stop gymnastics, and that's when I started focusing on lacrosse. I also was super into snowboarding. I did diving, swimming, basketball, really tried everything and had, great experiences.
So you were like a sports girl, not just lacrosse.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely. Couldn't sit still.
Yeah. So when did you so you were super into sports growing up. Did you know that you wanted to play? You said that you wanted to play lacrosse in college, but did you always know that you wanted to keep doing sports into college, or?
Actually, no. I started lacrosse in third grade, and then I believe when I was in seventh or eighth grade, I just looked at my dad and I was like, I really think I want to do this in college. And he was like, okay, well, if you want to play in college, then you have to start getting serious about it.
Yeah.
And that's when I started. I actually would drive an hour and a half to practices out of Rochester just because they had bigger club and travel teams. So it gave me better chances to get recruited.
Oh, wow. So did you go through the recruitment process, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so so eighth grade is normally when you join a competitive league, travel to tournaments, start having college coaches look at you, and then sophomore year is when you start your college visits, going to campus, maybe participating in some of the showcases that colleges will host.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty early, which is kind of crazy, especially thinking as a sophomore visiting these college campuses and making this, huge decision of where you want to go to college. And, I'm a 15, 16-year-old. I have no idea what major or what exactly I want to do with my life, besides, having that idea that I want to play lacrosse. So yeah, I mean, the things that I think matter to me today definitely weren't things that I was thinking about when I was in high school. For example, I would visit campuses and I'd be like, all right, I want to go south. I want warmer weather. I want a big college. I want a football atmosphere. And then obviously all the student athlete and sports amenities were like the sparkly kind of draw me to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about how different my mindset was then, and what a big decision it is to be making as a sophomore in high school.
Yeah, I like even remember when I was in high school, there were some kids that I went to high school with that were committed by I don't think you can like actually commit until you're a
Yeah,
certain age.
verbal commitment.
Yeah, had verbal commitments in like ninth grade or like at the end of ninth grade.
Yeah.
And now like being 22, I'm like, I how could you make a decision like that? I still like don't know what I'm doing with my life. And I mean, I know a lot of those kids. I remember a lot of the kids I went to high school with, once they got time to be like, okay, this is where you're actually going, they're like, never mind, I'm out of it,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what even happened for me as a sophomore. I committed to Virginia Tech. I was committed there for 2 years. I did
Oh,
all
really?
the visits. Yeah.
Okay.
Which was really exciting. I absolutely loved it. I loved the team, the atmosphere, everything about it. Was extremely excited. Did the whole 2 year commitment process, visited campus, all the girls, got to know the team. And then my junior year, I had the Harvard women's lacrosse coach reach out to me and say, basically, we'd love for you to visit campus, go through our recruiting process. And, at that point, it's like, lacrosse the rest of my life. And
Yeah.
even then, that was a really big decision because lacrosse was who I was, what I loved. And not to say that I was completely giving it up, but the really sort of big ACC schools, it's just a lot different of a program and a lot different focus.
Yeah. So what was it like playing lacrosse at Harvard?
It was a really, really big time commitment. Um, Luckily, I had a super great team. It made meeting people very easy. Got to travel on the weekends, go different places, and I really enjoyed the team atmosphere a lot. Um, and I mean, they're friends for a lifetime.
Do you feel like you missed out on the big school experience that you wanted?
Um, in some respects, yes, but I don't think that I would have changed my experience for anything. I think that there's always a what if, or how would have my experience been different, especially in relation to lacrosse. But I feel like there's such a bigger world that you can't become too honed in the what if, because I mean, you can what if every situation of life.
Yeah, yeah, honestly. And then just go down a spiral of
Yeah, the rabbit hole I avoid.
yeah. So how did you choose your major? Because I feel like I have two questions for you. First question, how did you choose your major? Because I feel like lots of people who get scholarships and commit for a sport do like sports management. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a very stereotypical thing. So how did you choose psychology?
Yeah, so my freshman year I went in, I wasn't completely sure what I wanted to do. And I think that's one of the nice things about Harvard is that it does push you to try pretty much everything, just to fulfill your requirements as well, since it's a liberal arts school. But
Mhm.
I went in, and looking back, this is funny now because I was like, oh, maybe I want to do pre-med. And if anyone knew me now, it just would be so, so far off. But I did LS1A, which is a life science course freshman year. Um, I was like, oh, pre-med, not for me. I took economics. Oh, definitely not for me.
Yeah.
Um, intensive Italian, anthropology. I really tried everything. And then not until the beginning of my sophomore year, actually, I took the intro psychology course and I really, really enjoyed it. And I was like, there's so much to learn. There's so many different verticals you can go with this. So then the end of the fall sophomore year, I declared my concentration as psychology.
And are you happy that you got a psychology degree? I know
Yeah,
your job right now isn't doing that, but
Yeah, I definitely think that psychology is one of those fields that, I mean, you can keep on a straight and narrow path and become a therapist, psychiatrist, get your master's, PhD. Obviously, that's not what I'm doing currently or right now, but it's always an option in the future. But I think one of the great things about a psychology concentration is that it's applicable everywhere across all fields. And that's not to say that if I wanted to go back to school or go to grad school, I could do business or, become a lawyer. There's all different sorts of avenues that um, are still options. It doesn't close me off to anything.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess another question I have for you is, what advice would you have to give to, maybe a high school student who is in love with the sport, is committed, and wants to take that on into college? What
Yeah.
advice would you have to give?
Um, Advice going into college.
Yeah,
I would just say,
for sport.
or just
Mm-hmm.
sports in high school or sports going into college.
Sports going into college.
Um, yeah, sorry.
No, I know you're good.
I'm getting pinged. Um, yeah, definitely. So going into college, I would say just keep an open mind. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. You're going to have a class of, um, probably a few people. I know basketball is really small. It's like 3 kids, but like you're going to be on the same journey with other people and going through the same experiences. It might be a little daunting at first and get nervous and feel like you have so much to prove, but all in all, just take it as it comes. And I mean, as long as you embrace what comes your way, I think you'll have a fantastic time and meet really great people.
Yeah. So, what sorts of things, like, what were some pivotal points in your college experience? Like, did you do any traveling? Did you do any internships that kind of swayed anything for you?
Um, I did off of my freshman year intensive Italian course. I actually lived in Italy for a summer, which was probably one of the best experiences of my life. It was, have to speak all Italian all the time, which I had never been immersed in new languages before. So it was really, really difficult for me and a really big obstacle that I had to keep working at and overcome and, put a lot of time and focus into. And then I actually ended up cutting my program 2 weeks short. And I did a backpacking trip by myself through Italy. And I feel like I learned a lot about myself and just really gave myself the opportunity to figure everything out on my own, be super independent, and get to see the world, which is
Yeah.
always a plus. In terms of, I think that was probably the best pivotal moment. And then another pivotal moment was I was injured my sophomore year for lacrosse, and I actually ended up quitting at the end of junior fall because I wasn't able to return to play. And, that I lost all sense of self. And that was really, really, really difficult. And, I think when people become so immersed in one thing and maybe you lose it or you can't do it anymore, um, you kind of have to sit down and be like, like what what gets me excited to get out of bed in the morning? And it should be more than one thing. And it gave me the opportunity to find new passions, try new things that I probably would not have tried if I was still playing lacrosse, meet new people, again, go outside of my comfort zone. And then I think the last pivotal moment was obviously COVID, and COVID was very difficult, I think, for everyone across the board.
Mhm.
I ended up losing my senior and half of my junior year, which was really heartbreaking to not spend those, the last year with all of your friends.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I moved to Charleston, South Carolina, and it ended up being such an amazing year and a half. I got to meet really cool people. It was the first time living by myself. And I think there's a really great sort of message that comes out of that. And just, we're always going to have obstacles and adversity in our lives, but depending on how you choose to make the situation, and if you try to make the best out of the situation, you can only grow from it.
Yeah. So you said you were in Charleston for a year and a half?
Yeah.
And did you finish school online there?
Yeah, so all of my classes were virtual.
That's so nice.
Yeah. I would have preferred to have been in class just because it's definitely an easier learning environment.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Well, for me at least.
Yeah.
But, I definitely didn't mind warm weather, the beach, and not walking through 3 feet of snow in Boston.
Yeah, I would trade that. I'm not a fan of the cold, so I'm right there with you. So now you are working for a tech startup, and what has that been like? How was the application process? I feel like during COVID, people have had a hard time, especially college grads, trying to find jobs. How has all that been?
Yeah, my recruiting process was obviously took quite a turn just because everything started to become virtual and you're talking into a camera. It's also a lot different when you're interviewing and you can see yourself, which makes it a little bit harder to focus and maybe not overplay or overthink what you're saying or what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I originally was not planning on going into the startup industry. I think that the opportunity came along. One of my managing partners went to school at the Harvard Business School, so that's where the connection came in. Really great group of people. And I was like, you know what, this is a really great opportunity to learn more about the startup community. I really didn't know very much about it. And in the future, if I ever decided maybe I want to start my own company or my own business, it would be great to have that background, the knowledge, the connections. Again, just trying something new, seeing if I like it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been a great experience.
Yeah. So what exactly do you do? What's your day-to-day life for someone who is listening and is like, what does that even mean?
Sure. So business development looks like it's pretty much sales and a little bit of a consulting role. So the day-to-day is mostly lead generation, have some calls with clients, explain our product, how we can partner and help each other, um, talking to the managing partners about how we can elevate our business, elevate our outreach. And what's interesting about, obviously this is going to look very different company to company just because it is a startup, so it is smaller and I have a lot of room to figure out and sort of do my own thing, which has its, positive and negatives as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, 9 to 5. I work from home, so that's obviously something different to navigate as well.
Yeah. Do you like work from home?
Again, it definitely has its ups and downs. I think the positive is that there's a lot of flexibility if I have to step out or, I have a dog, so that's nice being able to let her out and she's not alone all day. But in terms of interacting in a fluid do, or you would probably learn a lot from your coworkers. That's not as prevalent just because you're mostly communicating through Slack or messaging channels.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't know. I'm more of a work from home sort of person, but I'm not the most social, so, but I know some, huh?
I said that the hybrid is what we need.
Yes, yes.
A little bit of both.
Well, maybe one day you'll get there, you know?
Fingers crossed.
Best of both worlds.
Exactly.
So do you feel like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people, especially I was scared in high school that if I pick my major, I'm stuck with that major, and that it's really hard to switch majors, and it's this scary, daunting decision. But clearly you got a degree in psychology and you're out here doing it. So do you have any advice like on that, or just advice in general to give to high school people who are terrified and maybe don't know what to do with their lives?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, I don't think that there is a reason to put a lot of pressure on choosing a major. I think that sometimes the pressure comes from setting yourself a very concrete life goal or a 5-year plan. Unfortunately, that's not really how life works, and it's very fluid. And I think if you become super concrete in exactly how things are supposed to work out, you're going to end up setting yourself up for disappointment. Not in a bad way, just not being able to take the best opportunities as they come. And also, your 5-year plan or what it is you think you might want to do might not be what you end up loving. And then if you stick with something that you're like, I don't know if I love this, but you keep going anyways, I think that's when you look back and you are like, oh, darn, or have regret, or I should have switched. But if you really allow yourself to go in open-minded, try everything, try something that maybe you didn't think that you would ever like or try, and it could end up being something that you fall in love with, and next thing you know, you're CEO of your own startup doing what you would have never imagined. But yeah, definitely no pressure. I think the best thing to do is go through everything, try a little bit of all around.
Keep an open mind. Moral of
Yeah.
the story, keep an open mind. And I think that was something I wish I knew when I was younger, or just trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I saw the world so black and white. I feel like it's easy to, when everyone else you're surrounded with is doing the same thing, and you're like, well, if I do something different, like I'm really gonna be in the minority, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And to that point as well, don't let what other people are doing or what they say they're doing influence what you're doing, because realistically, no one has any idea what they're doing. And if they're telling you their 5-year plan or all their great successes, everybody's story is going to look completely different. And this person that might be hyping something up or super set on one thing, they could also end up doing something completely different. So I wouldn't let that outside bubble influence what you want to do, especially if it's something that you love and you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone has their own niche. Just because I love sports and that was a really big part of who I am, that's not going to be everyone, and I can't expect everyone to love it the same way that I did.
Mm-hmm. True that. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for being on today, for sharing some wisdom, and hopefully people listening to this podcast will feel less alone about maybe what they're doing or what they're trying to pursue, or just less loneliness. So thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it.
Of course.
And
Thank
wrap.